Welcome to Kent Hance, the best storyteller in Texas podcast. Find us on Instagram at Best Storyteller Podcast, and we start every episode with the saying of the day. Chancellor, what do you have?
Saying of the day is, yesterday is history, tomorrow is a mystery, live today. I like that. You know, Mark Twain always said that he had a lot of worries that never came true. And I think that a lot of time we get to worrying about yesterday or tomorrow. We need to take care of today.
A lot of things don't happen, right?
They don't happen. You worry about them, never comes to fruition.
Well, it is a good time to be a Texas Tech Red Raider. We're going to talk a little bit about the college football playoffs, but real quick, big win for the Red Raiders in basketball.
Basketball, I watched the game last night at Madison Square Garden. Last time we played Duke, I went up for the game. I couldn't do it this time. But they were down 17 points in the second half and came back and won. And it was a good victory for them because it was nationwide on ESPN, and it came at a time that Oregon was beating James Madison, whoever he is, 100-0. So people had switched off the football over to basketball. So they happened to be at the right place at the right time.
That's exactly what I did. Yeah. I flipped over from the football game, and they were down 17. I was like, I'm going to see what happens here. It was great.
Yeah, it was exciting. It was a lot of fun.
Right. Let's move on to college football, and there's a lot going on there too.
A lot happened in college football. Yesterday and today, everybody I've talked to, they have an opinion about the playoff, college football playoff. And if you look at the 8 versus 9, Alabama and Oklahoma, it was a good game.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at the 7 versus 10, A&M and Miami was a good game. A lot of my friends, Aggies, and boy, they just died with it, and I felt for them. But it was a low-scoring game, but it was a good game to watch. Both those games were excellent to watch. Then you had Ole Miss playing Tulane. They'd already played them once and beat them 20 or 30 points.
Mm-hmm.
Played them earlier in the year, and things didn't change. And then you had Oregon and James Madison. And a lot of people were mad because their school was left out. But if you look at Notre Dame's got a good complaint, no question about that. Mm-hmm. And what happened, you had the SEC had Alabama, Oklahoma, Ole Miss, Georgia, somebody else. They had 4, was it 5? Oh, A&M. A&M, they had 5, and Big Ten had 3. Well, the way they put it, they let the Conference USA and the Sun Belt have a school each. And the result was the Big 12 wound up with 1, Texas Tech, and the Atlantic Coast Conference wound up with 1, Miami. And those conferences should have had 2. And Brigham Young should have made it. And if they didn't have 2, Notre Dame, if they really want to be in the playoff every year, they need to join a conference. But Notre Dame and Oregon would have been a lot better game than James Madison. And James Madison scored 30-something points on Oregon, and Oregon scored 50-something. And it was never a game. Mm-hmm. I think Oregon punted 1 time. When you play a game and you don't punt but 1 time, it's not much of a game.
Yeah. I'm curious. I heard something, and maybe you can shed some light on this. One of the announcers said that the reason these smaller conference schools are getting in is because the NCAA's fear of antitrust violations.
That's an excuse. That's when I was chancellor at Texas Tech, somebody would come to me and they said, "Well, if we do this, we may get sued." Just get in line. You're going to get sued if you're a public institution or a public entity. And NCAA did not handle the situation right with the NIL and got us in the jam. But they don't have anything to do with the college football playoff. That's the CFP. And I think you'll see some adjustments. A lot of people say, well, they'll probably go to 16 teams.
Why? So we can get more blowouts?
Yeah. People will not watch that.
No.
No matter what ESPN may think or college football playoff may think, the supply and demand, they may watch it, they may not. But if it turns out to be a bad game, they're going to switch over and watch something else.
Yeah,
They've got too many choices. They can leave. Sam Walton, the customer's always right. They vote with their feet. They go some other place. And so the college football playoff people need to realize that that they need to be more in tune with having good games. The middle games, Oklahoma and Alabama was great. Oklahoma jumped out 17-0. I thought this was going to be a blowout.
Mm-hmm.
And then, Alabama came back and scored 24 straight points. And so is a big turnaround. And like I said, the A&M and Miami game was a very good game.
And you're heading to Miami, right?
I'm going to Miami to see Texas Tech play in the Orange Bowl versus Oregon.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw a deal this morning that said that Tech was favored by 1.5. Bookies, they'll miss one every once in a while, but so many times somebody will win by 2, and you look and see, and the odds were 2.5 or 1.5 or 3 or something like that. They're pretty good, and I mean that's all they do for a living to watch and predict what's going to happen in college football. And they try to make it so that there'll be a even number on both sides bet, and that way they make a bunch of money.
Yep, it is. I think they ought to let the bookmakers decide who gets
Bookies
in the playoffs.
decide if you said we want the best 12 teams in America, they'd decide it pretty fast.
Yeah, they would, and it'd be more accurate probably than what we had. So some great matchups coming up though. The playoffs are kind of shaking out the way people.
Miami and Ohio State.
That'll be a good one.
That should be a good one, and we'll see what happens with some of Indiana. They're going to be good no matter what. In Georgia, I think Georgia's probably the hottest team in America right now. Mm-hmm. Kirby Smart is a good coach, and is a coach that is a SEC coach and coached for Saban at Alabama. He was his defensive coordinator.
I shared a story, one of your stories, with a friend of mine. I want you to ask you to retell it about your friend that I believe went to Rice, and he was second team all conference or something. And then
that's John L. Cox.
John L. Cox.
John L. Cox was a highly successful oil man. When Forbes started listing billionaires, when there weren't that many billionaires, John L. Cox was included. And he played football. He was from Junction. Great guy. And he is from Junction. He played football at Rice. And I think the chemical engineering building's named for him. He was a big contributor to Rice. And he was all conference. I think it was second team all conference. And there was one publication that he had never heard of that named him honorable mention All-American. And one night we were at an event where he was being introduced, and the guy that was introducing him got carried away, and what he said was that he was all Southwest Conference, well, his second team, but he said all Southwest Conference and a first team All-American. And the stories had grown through the years that he went from being second team conference to honorable mention All-American to he was unanimous choice, all conference, and then All-American. And Cox leaned over to me after they said he was an All-American and everything. He said, if I live long enough, I'll win the Heisman. If I live long enough, I'll win the Heisman. I always liked that.
That's one of my favorite stories.
He had a great sense of humor and was a good man, and was very good, loved Rice, and got a great education at Rice, and he helped them a bunch along the way.
I heard a fun fact about Rice University I didn't know. President Kennedy's famous speech when he said we were going to go to the moon was given in the stadium at Rice.
Rice.
Huh. It's interesting because there's all the talk now about going back to the moon.
Well, a Super Bowl was played at Rice Stadium.
Was it really?
Yeah.
One of the early ones.
It was either the third or fourth, and Minnesota was one of the teams. I forget who won. It wasn't Minnesota. And but it was played at Rice because they had 71,000. They had a lot of seats to sell.
Right.
And they're probably selling those seats for $25, $30. Yeah. Now they're, 1,000 or 2,000 or whatever.
Let's move over to some issues that everybody's aware of that happened in the state of Minnesota where fraud has run rampant.
You talking about fraud being alive and well? It is in Minnesota, and it's alive and well. The U.S. Attorney's Office, which is very professional, and they handle cases left and right. They set out a Medicaid that went to Minnesota, $18 billion a year. That half of it was going to fraud, and part of that. People from Somalia that are there, that live there, they were involved in it, and they were saying that autism, and they were every kid that was with a Somali background, they were claiming autism, and not every one of them, but most of them, and so they're now saying that it looks like there was $9 billion stolen. And if you ask somebody, why do the taxpayers get mad? I'll tell you why they get mad. When somebody in Minnesota allows, and the governor had to know, because anytime there's a request, you always get with it how much you've spent in the past. Well, if they go to $18 billion, a lot of it, before it started, where was it? What was the number? Mm-hmm. And they ignored it, and they let it go. And there's going to be some people go to prison over it, and when they go to prison, they'll start singing, mm-hmm. and that's the old deal that if you've got a client that's got a U.S. attorney's problem, you want to get in the boat early because other people get in, going to be late. I had a guy one time that was arrested there were two guys. One had flown marijuana from Mexico and was flying it and had to land in La Mesa, Texas, but was trying to stay 200 or 300 feet off the ground, so the radar wouldn't pick him up. But they had picked him up, and DEA was there, and the guy left his plane in a hangar in La Mesa and called a guy from another town to come get the marijuana and unload it, and the guy brought a cotton trailer. And they unloaded it the next morning, but the DEA had been there, and they'd set up cameras. So they had cameras of these two guys taking marijuana out of this airplane and putting it in the trailer, and they both got arrested. And the people that had the kid driving the trailer, he was 19 or 20, old enough to know better, and they were friends, man. I knew him, and they called me, and so I got the guy in and started explaining to him his situation. And I said, you're going to have to testify against the pilot. And he said, well, he's a good friend. I can't do that. I said, they'll probably give you 10 to 20 years in prison. And he said, he's not that close. It didn't take him long. I mean, he summed it up pretty fast, and he's not that close. I might spend a little time, but I'm not going to do 10, 20 years. And the result was he was state's evidence against the guy, and they moved up the chain.
Going back to Minnesota,
yeah,
the fraud that was occurring. Do you believe that it was just people looked the other way because they need those votes?
Well, I don't think there's any question that was one of the considerations. They didn't want to jump on any group during the election, and Governor Walz, I mean, he tried to portray himself as a moderate, and letting this happen in his state. I don't think he had much of a future in Democratic politics to run for president because they had such a bad showing. Mm-hmm. But if he does, I think this would pretty well put a stop to it. The public's mad about it.
We want to see something done.
Yeah, they want. Are you going to do something about it, or what? Mm-hmm. Not a slap on the wrist. There'll be some people go to prison on this, and should.
Right.
I mean, $9 billion is a lot of money to steal $9 billion. I'm not talking about $9 million. I'm talking about $9 billion. And people say, I wonder why the taxpayers got so mad. Yeah. I can tell you why. They're working every day and paying taxes, and some of them have to work all the way to June or July before they get enough money they can pay their taxes. Mm-hmm. And they find that somebody's stealing that money.
And
Makes them mad.
if that's your district, if you're a member of Congress and that's your district, how do you not notice that there's a lot of money that's flooded into your district?
You get a list when they prepare the budget. There's breakdowns, and Medicaid will be a breakdown. And every member of the legislature and every member of the Congress from that state's going to see it. And you can compare it. Most of the time, they'll have comparisons for the last 10 years. So how much it's gone up and for what reason. And sometimes there can be some reasons. But, taking Texas, what we spend on infrastructure has been going up because we have 1,500 people a day move to Texas. 1,500, that's a lot of people moving in. And you look at Texas, Florida, and a few other states, they're gaining a lot of population.
It sure is a lot easier, more friendly to do business here.
Yeah,
sure.
I noticed Valero, I believe, pulling out of California.
And they're going to take $1 billion hit, and they said it was worth it.
Yeah, they just can't. They can't do it.
Yeah. Let's move on to Christmas sales. There's a good time to buy some stuff.
Christmas sales, they'll start the 26th. It'll be Friday, and Friday for about a week or 10 days, there's going to be a lot of Christmas sales, and merchants are going to be trying to get rid of what they've got and what they didn't. What they weren't able to sell during Christmas holidays. The spending of the top 20% is up substantially in merchandising.
Did you see that church in? It's a mega church in Houston. Gotten a little bit of trouble.
Yeah, look, this is a mega church, and they wanted to be realistic, so they had a nativity scene, and they got live camels, and one of the camels kicked one of the guys at church in the head. That's not good. Don't bring a live animal to a church setting thinking that everything's going to be okay. I mean, the camel wouldn't have to have a drink of water or anything, I'm sure, but they might poop on the stage or do something like that. But instead, they kick somebody in the head. Live animals at events. Or my grandkids, I had a dog. They had a dog that they could ask it, would you rather go to A&M or Texas or be dead? And he'd fall on his back and play dead. And they wanted me to take that thing to the graduation at Texas Tech. And I said, I'm not going to take a live dog. You don't know what that dog's going to do. A dog might play dead when I say Texas Tech. So, but we didn't do that. That was, I humored, well, we'll look at it next year, But they were a little bitty, and they thought it'd be great to have their dog, at the graduation events.
That's funny. This old boy in Houston that got kicked in the head clearly hadn't spent any time around animals or horses in particular. You don't walk behind them.
You don't walk behind them, and they'll kick you pretty fast.
Yeah. Speaking of animals, a raccoon at a fancy restaurant.
Wisconsin. There was a high-dollar restaurant. And I'm talking about, a 5-star, 4-star, whatever the best stars were. And there was a raccoon in the ceiling, fell out of the ceiling onto a table. And somebody at the table tried to push it away or something. It bit the person. Boy, that's really bad for business. I would think that, come on over and get bitten by a raccoon. It couldn't have been a worse night for the owner of that restaurant.
And if you have raccoons in your attic, something's up there. You hear them.
You do, and I've had them get in my attic, and they'll tear stuff up. I mean, that's, there was a while there, I had 2 of them in about 5 years, and when I'd see a raccoon in the road, somebody'd run over, I'd always clap, hope that he was staying out of my place.
There's a woman here in Texas, she got arrested.
Putting razor blades in bread.
Wow.
Under stupid criminal. That would be crazy and stupid criminal.
And mean.
And mean.
Yeah. She's in deep trouble. It happened at Walmart's. She's from Texas, but it happened at Walmart's in Mississippi. Yeah. So what goes through someone's head? I think I'm going to get some razor blades and put them in bread.
Yeah, let's create a little excitement in Mississippi, I guess she was thinking. Or maybe she got fired by them someday.
Yeah.
She's trying to get even with them.
you've heard the saying, necessity is the mother of invention, right?
Right.
Well, old boy in the UK is now behind bars. He took a staple gun
and made it a real gun.
Right.
And they you don't do things like that. I mean, I'm just amazed that when you think no one can think of something, when you have warnings, it means that someone has done it before. And my wife and I rented a car in Amarillo one time, and it was the weekend of pheasant hunting opening season.
Big weekend.
And they had a big sign and paper in there. It said, "Do not clean birds in car," which, as she said, that means someone cleaned birds in the car. I cannot think of a worse situation. If you're a car rental person and somebody's, cleaned them, you wouldn't even want to clean it in the back of a pickup. I had a guy, a Ford dealer, tell me he's out in a dealership in West Texas. He said 95% of his sales are pickup trucks.
Really?
He said, 5% are cars. So he's in the oil field area. And
I mean, it's always good to have a pickup.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You can use it a lot.
Well, I tell you, better than having a pickup is having an office, like my law office, and that somebody, law of averages, somebody will have a pickup you can borrow.
That's true.
You got to move something. How about borrowing your pickup? Mm-hmm. And I parked next in the building to Logan Spence, one of my law partners who, Logan's a bright guy from Louisville, Texas, was a fighting farmer, whatever that is. And they won state at one time, a long time ago. But he parks next to me, and he'll grade me on parking from time to time. I've gotten where I can park. I back in, and I've had to give myself a couple of A's. He didn't want to give me an A, give me an A minus. But one of my grandsons will park, and he backs in at about 35, 40 miles an hour, it seems. It just scares me to death when I'm in the car with him, and he'll just put it in reverse and never look back, just look at the video, and away he goes. And I'm a little more cautious. We didn't have video for backing when I started driving. Driver's license. I got a driver's license when I was 14.
Did you really?
Yeah, that's what they had. And I was driving a school bus when I was senior, so I was 17, and drove school bus for the Dimmitt Independent School District.
Really?
Yep.
That's a big responsibility for a 17-year-old
It was,
kid.
but I, was responsible, I guess. They let me do it, and they paid me. I was happy.
How many years did you do that?
Yeah, my senior year. It was just my senior year.
So you do it before and after school?
Yeah, I'd go out on the route and pick them up, and then I'd take them when school is over and take them home, let them out. One day I wound up, and I'm pulling back in the parking lot, and there's a little girl still on the bus.
Oh, no.
And it was her first day at school, and she didn't know where she lived. She was a first grader. And so we had to start calling teachers and everything. We found out where she was, and they principal took her home in the car.
She didn't know her bus stop.
No, it's just, I look up and there's one kid back there as I'm pulling in to park the bus, and I went, oh no, what am I going to do?
Where'd you come from?
How'd you get in here? I'd never seen her before.
That story's probably still being told around the dinner table at her, wherever she is today. It seems like December, the number of HOA fights skyrockets.
Goes up. There's one where someone had an inflatable Santa or snowman is 28 feet tall, and the homeowner association sued them in trying to get it stopped. And homeowner associations, sometimes they'll do some crazy things, and we had to change our code for people that were coming to see us and vendors and things like that. And I don't know why we had to do it, but we had to do it. And didn't make anyone happy.
They ever ask you to serve on the HOA?
Yeah, I mean, I'm so no. It was sometimes somebody asks you to do something, you answer needs to be no, real fast, no.
And that's it.
That's it. Don't say anything else.
Yeah. Don't say I'm going to think about it.
Yeah. No. They said they'll ask you that. Well, think about it.
Yeah.
Well, the next time they'll come back and say, well, I thought you were going to do it. No, you told me to think about it. Well, if you're thinking about it, you should do it. You get in an argument.
Mm-hmm.
No.
Right.
They can't argue with that.
That's good advice. Yeah. Very good advice. Moving along here, again, we'd love for you to follow us on Instagram. It's at Best Storyteller Podcast. The Great Depression, there's some interesting information going back about the Great Depression and money that was given to the United States because things were so dire.
Cameroon sent the United States $3.77 for hunger relief. Mm-hmm. And it'd be the equivalent of about $67 today. But, I guess they were thinking down the road they might want some foreign aid, and I'm sure they've got more than that in foreign aid. But they had $3.77.
Bless their heart.
Yep, they were thinking, or they were preparing for the future where they could ask for $25 million in foreign aid.
Chancellor, it's been a great year, and we encourage everyone to go back through our catalog and listen to some of the past episodes. There's some great interviews there and some great stuff. So make sure you go back and check that out over the holiday break. You want to remind everyone the saying of the day?
Saying of the day was yesterday's history, tomorrow's a mystery, live for today. Have a Merry Christmas.